That's
Enough
smart.
said. خلاص.
Right?
Yeah.
So if you shouldn't make your own mistakes.
Yeah.
But when I'm working, I'm facing a lot of things, which is one of my questions here. How to deal with office politics or how to deal with people in a diplomatic way.
That's why I resigned. Also, the office politics. يعني it was never ending. You know, can I tell you? I really want to, like, I'm telling you, if you stick to the office politics, I'll tell you, like, one of the reasons I also, like, resigned or one of the issues I've always had everywhere. Okay, when you go to work, never will you ever see a contract that says what you can and cannot do on your social media life. Forget your personal life, like social media. Because whether you like it or not, every single time they actually will stalk your social media. I got told off. Guess what? Why are you not mentioning in the this is your position and this organization on LinkedIn? ما يخصك. I can mention, I cannot.
Is it because you're famous or?
Regardless, I don't know. Listen, famous is almost like, I guess it's a subjective thing. I don't think I'm famous. Some people think I'm famous, but I don't. I don't think I am. Well, I know a lot of people who are very well known.
Yes.
I don't think I'm that well known. Honestly, I really don't.
So what do you think is the reason?
But why are they stalking my account? I don't know. Because I have seen a lot of other people who work in that same organization who have whatever and nothing happens. So why do I always have like a witch hunt against me and my personality? Only God knows. I have no idea, always. But that's one. So for example, even if I did other things. So for example, I was presenting or I got invited to speak at an event. Oh, guess what? Anna, for example, now COP28. The UAE is getting hammered by Western media about COP28. I wrote an article defending our country, His Excellency Dr. Sultan.
Yes.
I got told off at work. They said, why are you writing this piece? And are you being paid by the national? Because it got published on the National Arabian Business. They said, are you being paid by them? I said, first of all, no, I'm not being paid by them. Secondly, I did this because it's a love for my country and for His Excellency. Like, I think he's doing a great job and whatever. Third, I actually shared this with Dr. Sultan. I sent it to him and he loved it. He's like, thank you. He thanked me for the piece that I wrote for him. Basically, just anything they could find, they want to bring you down. I said nothing about the organization I was working at. I said nothing to whatever. It did nothing to... Bil'aks, I actually said to them, like, look, by the way, just FYI, I happen to be a writer. If you fancy me writing anything about us in a good way or whatever, I'll be more than happy. I was just... like absolutely distraught by that.
So
I was like,
attacked.
I would never want to say or do anything positive about you guys just because you came up to me saying whatever. And there was nowhere when I signed my contracts, when I got that job, did they say, you're not allowed to do this? You know, nobody ever said that. I think they would never have the face to put that in the contract because they know they would look ridiculous.
Yes.
Like, what the hell? So what?
So you felt like you were attacked from all directions.
Yes, so that's office politics for you. Wallah, that's office politics.
But now the question comes, yes, this is happening. Thinking about the why is kind of like wasting our times because it is happening, right? But how do we stop this? How do we protect ourselves? Or how did you protect yourself other than quitting?
Look...
Or is quitting the only option?
No. It's not the only option. I think one thing for sure is obviously speaking to the organization always. Like, it's like I feel like when you have a problem with anyone or with anything, where that problem is coming from, you should have a conversation and then talk
don't you think,
talk it through.
In my personal experience, when I've had that conversation, it has gotten worse. Because you've brought the subject on this table and you're like, I've noticed this is happening, and there's like, no, this didn't happen, and then it would get worse, so you can't really do anything about it. You feel helpless.
Well, I mean, but I'm telling you, for in my experience, and you're probably right. It can, I guess it can happen both ways. Sometimes it can blow out of proportion, and sometimes it can be a reasonable conversation. Basically, all I was told is, okay, next time you want to write something, just get approval from us and we'll tell you like yes or no. That was that. And then also the second thing was, also by the way, like attending events, which was like regarding the actual organization or the sector that we're in. And it said, oh, if you want to attend any of the events, you also have to ask for permission. So I was like, and why are we in school or
Yeah.
you know, in school, like if you want to use the bathroom, you have to ask the teacher before you walk out of the class.
ticket.
Yeah, yes, exactly. Like you have to get a pass.
Yeah.
So I'm like, that's how it's going to be. Like when you're at work, by the time you're working, you're an adult. So if you don't trust that I'm going to go and do something professional, like what you're supposed to question me, not whether I should go or not. When I come back, what did I learn and what kind of, oh, how is this going to positively impact the organization in the future? Like that's what you're supposed to look at. And even actually, let's say for you know, for the sake of whatever, and that, okay, yes, I'm a well-known person, okay? Okay, you are supposed to look at me and take advantage of that. Say, you know what? Okay, Omar is a well-known person. Let's benefit from the kind of network he can get that will benefit us at the end. Not holding me back, like trying to, it's not even taming me. It's like choking me. That's what it felt. I literally felt like a chokehold. I was like, you know what? This is not for me. Clearly it's not. And I'm like, it's okay.
But don't you think after so many years in working in the corporate world, you could have realized that going into this company, you would be able to recognize the environment, or this person is like that, this person is like, you know, that gut feeling that you get?
Yeah.
Did you get that?
You know, look, to be honest, I wasn't very sure. And I just said, you know, let me try one more time. And this is why I didn't last like 8 months. Like more than 8 months. I was like, okay, khalas. I got to 8 months and I was like, you know what? I'm done. So this was the calling. I was like, I thought, so what happened is, like I said, I'm 37. I have almost 20 years experience, right? I've worked for so long. I went to the US. I took it's almost, you can say, like a sabbatical in from this professional life. Went to university. Then yes, I worked for a bit at the UAE consulate in New York. And then I said, maybe let me give it one more shot. This was a good title and this. And I was like, you know what? Okay, it looks like nothing's changed. It's all the same. So that kind of office politics did not change. I was really hoping that there will be way more flexibility when it comes to like working remote. You would think like the whole world literally had to be shut down. It means you can work from anywhere, and everybody was still working and people were still productive. But suddenly that also changed. Like, no, you have to come to the office. Okay, you'll come to the office and do what? Fine. Okay, you're doing work or whatever, but actually you really do not need to be there for more than like 1 or 2 hours. And you don't even have to be there every day. You don't have to go at all. You could still be doing whatever you were doing remotely. You know what was the funny thing, which I found ridiculous? To go to the office and attending meetings on Teams. There are people from other departments in the same building. We would not even meet like in person. It would happen over Teams. I was like, when I saw that, I was like, it was not meant for me. I was like, clearly, either something's wrong with me or with the rest of the world. Something's not right. Mariam, do you understand?
I understand.
I don't think people... Can I paste the camera? Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to explain to me the logic about going to the office and having meetings with your colleagues who happen to be in the same building, but you're meeting virtually. Why in the hell are you polluting the environment, taking the energy to get dressed and going all the way to the office just to go and meet virtually? Am I crazy?
You're not.
I want you to respond in the comments below so you can help us find our path on Pathfinders. Sorry.
That was a good commercial.
I had to do that. Maybe you could use that clip and then put that as a,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, I could answer for all of them. No,
Yes.
you're not crazy. But it is what it is. And I think it's our actions that we can control. What did you do?
Um,
And what do you think someone should do in your position?
I think, break free. That's what it is.
And if
So
you
break
can't?
free from that. And, I guess meditation, yoga, maybe actually meditation, yoga won't work. Maybe you should actually go for like MMA courses,
Yeah,
like
kickboxing, huh?
UFC. Yeah, something really, really like bare knuckles, like not even with punching bags or anything. No, like bare knuckle training or something, because it's something doesn't make sense. And I was like, you know what? I'm tired of dealing in a world with just unreasonable rules and conditions. And look, maybe there's some people who can easily conform, and honestly, God bless them. And I honestly, sometimes I envy them. I envy people that sometimes are, they say ignorance is bliss. I envy people sometimes who are ignorant. I envy people who can just conform. Because for people like myself who are, I guess, thinkers and people that want to sometimes rebel, sometimes be different, and sometimes just like challenge the status quo, it becomes very difficult for us to live. Like sometimes I feel people like myself belong in a different planet. We're probably looking for the day that Elon Musk, who happens to be a rebel himself, will create a planet where only people like us can survive and stay away from all this. And wallah, it's a huge problem. You always get scrutinized for something. If you're speaking English, you get scrutinized for doing so, or why are you not speaking in Arabic? If you speak only in Arabic, you get scrutinized for that, and why are you not speaking in English? If you do this, you get this. If you don't do this, you get this. So it's always like just constantly appeasing the rest of the public, which drives me nuts.
Is there no middle ground that both parties can find, in your opinion, as a rebel? Do you think there exists?
I think the only middle ground for me is Tallahassee. Tallahassee is in Florida. That's where I went to university. It's in the middle of nowhere. Nobody's ever heard of Tallahassee. Apparently, Tallahassee is the capital of Florida. People thought Orlando or Miami is the capital of Florida.
Okay.
But it's all the way in the middle of nowhere. And Tallahassee, yeah. Anyways, that was a joke. Sorry. But the point is, it's like in the middle of nowhere. It's a good way to retreat, and that was my middle ground.
Yeah.
But on a serious note, I think the opportunity is, I think what the cure for everyone with any issue, I feel, is self-reflection. Like self-reflecting on what you're, on what's going on in your life. What are you doing? How are you doing? Who you're speaking to? How are you speaking to them? All these things. The more we self-reflect and we pay attention and also listen, I guess, sometimes to these criticism, it helps you evaluate yourself, because sometimes we always assume who we are, how we are is the right way. And that's not necessarily true. Sometimes that's a little bit selfish. It's good to listen, but it's also good to also look at it, try to see it objectively and see, hey, is this person being reasonable with what they're saying to me? Am I being reasonable with what I think is right? And then you just come to a middle ground. So my former employers, I can tell you, I love them all. As much as we maybe disagreed with some things.
Even the ones who fired you?
Yeah. No, the one job where I got fired, no, we're not in talking terms. Actually, I don't know where she is.
That was years ago,
That
right?
was, I was a baby. I was like 19.
Okay. I really want to talk about that, because
Sure.
what would you have done in today's age and day? I'm sure not send an email on the corporate server using the corporate email.
Yes. Well, no, I wouldn't do anything
What
now.
was in that email?
What was in the email?
Specifically. No, okay, let's not go specifically.
Oh, yeah, okay.
I just realized.
You can ask, Maryam is going to get herself in trouble, because you can ask me anything and I will say it. But anyways, that was a long time ago and I was a baby. I basically complained about the boss that I had at this one time. I really did not like her. This is me saying it in a very calm way. And I wrote an email to a friend of mine explaining my dissatisfaction with the situation and how I did not like this person. but I described this person in a certain way and it wasn't the right way. And apparently when you type words or you type whatever, it alerts the IT system, the IT department. And they found that email and they said, "Dear Omar, you're clearly not happy and you need to leave." So I was told to leave and that's how they found out.
Do you regret it?
No, absolutely not. Wallah bil'aks. I'm glad at least you got to know what I felt about her. But I would not do it that way again. Not now.
You wouldn't endorse it.
Yeah, no, I do not endorse this.
But what would you do today?
If you're mad, keep it to yourself.
What would you do today as Omar who's...
Yeah, rather than, like, I guess, what would I do today? I guess I just would be more patient. Like one of the things that I've learned in my life, like from my professional, my personal life, I've learned that I need to be more patient with my, I guess, maybe sometimes my outbursts, or with my anger, so, you know, all of these things, and even with how I respond. And we're always told, like, you know, I love this one. I even mentioned it in my book, actually, in Just Read It. I said, we all have two eyes. We have two nostrils. We have two ears. But we only have one mouth. Have you ever thought of that? The reason is we have to listen twice as much as we speak. Like, we have to breathe in twice as much as we breathe out. We have to see things two different perspectives. Why do we have two eyes? We could have had one, because if you think of it, even if we close one eye, you can still see a lot. But you only see like sort of like one side. You don't see both sides. So I realized
that's a philosophical answer, not a
biological. But yeah. So I would just think twice, be more patient before I respond to.
Yes.
Yeah, you can listen. Driving on the streets of the UAE is enough. That already helps you with your patience. You know, controlling your anger and everything.
Yeah, you haven't been to Sharjah, have you?
Oh, I said the UAE.
Oh, okay,
I said,
okay.
Yeah. Driving on the streets around the
Dubai is fine. Sharjah is worse.
Oh God.
No hate to them.
Mm-hmm.
Going back to your book, which you mentioned, Just Read It. Is the title name? Because some people, I myself got confused.
I know, everybody think, yeah.
No, but it was a great...
This is not a command, this is a nice way. I said, just read it.
This was a nice story, because if you read it, I'm not going to mention the story, why you wrote down the name as Just Read It. People have to read that to understand.
Okay.
But in the back of the book, you mentioned that, or there was something in the middle of the book that you said that this book is so common knowledge, but people overlook this.
Yeah.
And I myself, when I read this book, I'm like, this makes sense. Yeah, it makes, but I realized when you mentioned that, I have made the same mistakes that you've mentioned here not to make.
Yeah. And that's what I love. What I love about the book, to be honest, I tell people, in my humble opinion, it's timeless. And the reason is it's the kind of stuff that you get told over and over again. Like at home, in school, amongst your family, your friends, in religion. Today is Friday. We were talking again about how you have to be in society and everything else. All I did is I Omarized it. When people tell me, what are you going to learn? I tell them nothing. Because you already know this, or you were already told all of this. So the way that I put the content together, and the way that I think put it in my own words is what's different about the book. But it's even for me, when I open the pages, I'm like, it still makes sense today.
And now you also mentioned this one thing, emotional and social intelligence.
Yeah,
is what this book is all about.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think that's very important in today's days? Because looking at it myself, I realize why it's important. But if you realize, because of the iPad, because of the technology, and I don't even have to prove this, we have become less social. We have had more cases where social anxiety just piles up one after the another.
Yeah.
And I've realized that the generations before us, no offense to your age.
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah,
but
I'm
you're
old.
more open to conversations than the people who are my age.
Yeah,
And it
but
becomes difficult for me because I want to lead a healthy life with my friends and family, but because my friends and family don't realize
yeah,
that
yeah.
we're social animals when we need this.
But let me ask you this, Mariam. How old are you now?
21.
Okay, listen, Mariam, I'll tell you, when I was at your age, I had the same issue. I also was not like this. A lot of people feel that, like, okay, this generation was just like this all the time. La, بالعكس. On the contrary, we were just as impatient. When I made that mistake about that email, you know how old I was?
How old were you?
I was 20. Yes, I was 19, 20 years old when I sent that email. Yes, I was 19 or 20 years old maximum. Because at 21, at that time, I was already working at the British Embassy. So that job was the job before the British Embassy. I was literally 20 years old. And I was impatient.
Started
Yeah.
working very
Oh,
young.
yeah. I started working
From
straight out of high
university.
school. Yeah. So out of high school, I was 17 years old. So I joined, I went to AUD, the American University in Dubai. I joined AUD and I started working the same year. So I was a full-time employee and a part-time student. I used to go to work from 8 o'clock in the morning till 4 p.m. Then I used to go to university from 5 till 9 or 10 p.m. 6.5 years. I did my undergrad in marketing.
6.5 years?
Yes, because I was a part-time student, remember? So imagine every semester I was only taking like 1 or 2 classes. That's
must
why it
have
took me
been-
so long. Oh yes, it was gruesome. Everybody thought I was probably going to be there in school, in the university with
Yeah.
like grandkids. They're like, how much longer are you going to be here? I was always at everybody's graduation because I was the flag bearer. If some of you do not know, I'm 6'3". So I'm so tall, they always made me carry
I
the
think
flags.
they will know from the thumbnails that
Oh, you're right.
yeah, I'm wearing a 4-inch heel, by the way. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
So I've been working, that's why I'm saying 20 years experience. Imagine, from 17 till now.
was it hard for you to have friends at that time?
Yeah, it was difficult because everybody else around me, everybody like was, sort of like they were hanging out and
Yeah.
this. I had a very on the weekends, I wanted to do nothing but sleep. I was just exhausted. But, I kept telling myself that, look, I know this is going to be extremely rewarding in the future. My mom was the one who encouraged me. And I remember all the time, yani, from the quotes from Sheikh Muhammad Rashid, that he was always encouraging people to like work and study, and he said that it's going to become very competitive. I remember every time Sheikh Muhammad Rashid, Allah Hafidhah, like he was always talking about how life was going to become challenging in the sense that it would be challenging and competitive, or more competitive, not challenging in that sense, but it'll become more competitive because there's a lot of talent coming to the UAE and everything. That's why he was investing so much in this. It was him who encouraged to have universities have evening classes. That's the reason why I was able to work and study.
I'm just trying to find the same thing, something you mentioned.
Yeah.
Yeah, here. Strive to be a pioneer.
Yes.
And you mentioned His Highness Sheikh Mohammed's quote.
Quote, yeah.
Everybody remembers number 1, no one remembers number 2 or 3. This is something very, very common. You know my opinion on this?
Tell me.
It puts on me so much pressure.
Yeah.
Because whenever I'm like, I get a prize
Yeah.
and it's number 3 or 4, and then it actually
Yeah.
gets in my mind. I'm like, no one remembers number
Yeah.
3 or 4.
But I will tell you something. People will remember 3 and 4 if you do what you do, but it's different. You have this podcast, Mariam. It's Pathfinders. One of the things is I love, it's a unique location. Your style is very different. We did not start, I started every podcast that I ever got interviewed a certain way. You're the only one who started this, and we dove straight into the whole thing. Like you didn't, there was no like, hey, this is Omar, like welcome.
Describe yourself.
I love it. Yeah. No, this was perfect. So you just became number 1 in what you just did.
Oh.
Wallah, no, seriously. You just did something very different. And that's unique. That's how, so you can, yes, many people did whatever. I mean, but like Starbucks had a coffee shop. There were already tons of other coffee shops before. But he did something different. Howard Schultz, the founder of Starbucks. So, everybody else, like McDonald's did something different. Burger King did something different. So everybody had a unique selling proposition, a USP.
See, this it's unfair because I can't enjoy the moment I'm here because I'm always thinking about the next
Yeah.
upgrade
Yeah,
and
yeah.
upgrade and
Yeah.
upgrade.
Yeah.
Because you always have to be upgrading
Yeah.
to be at that number one.
Yeah. So look, I'll tell you this. You and many other people think of that, like about upgrading and this, and that's only natural because that's, it's our human instinct. That's the reason why we were able to survive, because we were always adapting ourselves to the new environment, the new things, the way things happen. Now, for example, everybody wants to have quinoa. Nobody wants to have rice anymore. صح?
Well,
The grain, but like you want to have quinoa as much as possible, more than want to have rice. But that's because we're not as active. We don't move or walk as much as like our parents or grandparents used to move a lot more on their feet. But we're in our car and we're sitting most of the time. So that's why we're trying to adapt to like lower carb diet as opposed to before. It was more high carb diet than than now. So what I was trying to say is, I think the way that you have to see, like, when do you change when you feel like when you're talking about upgrading and everything else, you just have to, it's everything in life is like a cycle. When you feel like, okay, I've reached to a certain point where there's no more growth, maybe this is where I should implement a new change or innovate. Then you do something else. It's the same with, like, think about the phone. Every year they know after 1 year, khalas, people's attention span with the phones, where they get bored. This is when every September, Apple and Samsung will release a new phone.
Honestly, I do see that in you. And why I see that is because going through your LinkedIn, making me, podcasting, making me into a stalker. Going through your LinkedIn, you have only been at this one specific job, and that's the longest that you have been,
Abu
is
Dhabi tourism.
5 years.
Yeah.
And so you've been on this constant repeat
All
of
the time.
change.
Everywhere else. Yeah.
Is that bad or is it good? Because I was having this interesting conversation myself, this debate, how to reach number one, and to speaking of Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid's quote, to be number one. Should you focus on one thing in particular? Should you focus on multiple things?
Yeah.
Or should you choose to, start with this thing and then start? Because I was reading myself, like, the first, for example, Bill Gates focused on Microsoft for a very long time.
Yeah.
Warren Buffett focused on investment for decades.
Yeah.
But we have another tennis player, a very famous one, who started with focusing on so many different things, and then he became a legend in tennis. I think his name is, I can't even pronounce it. Neil Federer?
Roger Federer.
Roger Federer.
Roger Federer. Yeah.
And then we have Elon Musk.
Yeah.
Started with PayPal, and now he has multiple. He's
Yes.
become a serial entrepreneur.
Yeah.
So there's like 3 paths. Which one leads you to become number one? Was really confusing for me.
Okay, I'll tell you this. I love that you asked this question. Let me address the first part of your question where you noticed about my career path.
Yeah.
The only reason I stayed at the Department of Culture and Tourism, Abu Dhabi, for that long, like 5.5 years, almost 6, it's because the boss I had knew that I would thrive in an environment where I get to try and do multiple or different things. Not only at the same time, but also, like, myself, I have like an innovative mindset. And I like to do something, make it work, get the team assembled, and then move on. So when I was in Abu Dhabi Tourism, every year that I was there, every year, I was in a new department. It's the only reason why I stayed there for that long. Anywhere where they tried to keep me for so long, just doing the same thing, if I knew I wasn't able to I felt like I was immediately thrown into prison. Because I don't feel like when you're in a place that you need to stay that long to, like, see that you're actually having an impact. If if you can put a plan for that department or for that organization, and set the stage for them, lay the foundation, and recruit the right team, then I feel that's it. I found myself, like, my purpose, and my purpose is I love to empower others. I always tell people, I'm not a king, I'm a kingmaker. I love that. Like, I love making other people grow. When I told you about the radio, I had a mentor, I had a mentee. She was from American University of Sharjah. She was doing her internship with us at the radio. Her name is Omnia. She was doing her internship because she was doing media broadcasting at AUS. And I told her, Omnia, I know, because after I started the show with Sarah and Sally, the Morning Majlis, I had my own show called Future Talk, talking about futurism and everything, and tech and everything. I told her, you'll come, you'll be with me, and we'll co-host the show together. And I told her before she graduated, I promise you, you will take this position that I have. So you will be the producer and presenter of the show. I'm going to leave. And she was like, no. I said, no, honestly, I don't want to stay that long. I came here for a purpose. They brought me in. They wanted me to help launch the station and the shows. And my job is done. You take over, fly with it for as long as you want to be, and then do whatever you want. And then, carry it forward. Help another mentee in the future. And that's how we can have impact in this world. So that's what I did. And I think to answer your other point as well, sorry, I cut you off a bit.
It's all right.
I was going to tell you about, like, when you said about Elon Musk,
Yes.
and how all these other people did different things. I think what Elon Musk, like, he is a disruptor. That's what he is. So everybody knows what they are. So Elon Musk is a disruptor. Roger Federer, as you mentioned, he's like he strives like for excellence and perfection. That's why he's doing very well with his shoes or his brand. Like, everybody knows that one thing that they're good at. So for me, I knew that, look, I'm an educator. Like, that's my role. Like, I love to empower people by educating them and empowering them and everything. So I did that, and then that's why I thrive in a place that allows me to help the organization like grow, other departments grow, and also for me to continue doing it also outside the organization. So that's why whenever I work in a place, I tell them, listen, you have to know, I'm a mentor at like multiple institutions, Zayed University, Abu Dhabi SME Hub.
You're also
Bidayat.
one
I
of
don't
the
know.
youngest professors, right?
Yes, I was teaching. I was like literally like a part-time teacher. So I love, so everybody knows, that's why you can be able to thrive in multiple things. If you know that one thing, if you know that your why, that's how you'll be able to thrive in whatever organization you're in. I love that quote by Mark Twain. He says there are two important days in your life. The day you were born and the day you find out why. When you find out your why, that's when you have absolute happiness and joy, and you feel like, okay, this is what I'm living for. This is why I'm here.
Wow.
Alhamdulillah, I found my why.
Was it a turning point in your life where you found a why, and then you woke up suddenly different? So how do you
100%.
realize that you found your why?
You know that you found your why when you feel that absolute joy. The place that I find absolute joy, and everybody knows this, my family knows this, everybody knows this in my life, that I want to end up at a university. Like, I want to be teaching full time.
You want to be one of those
I love
cool
it.
professors.
The coolest
with the
professor
stick.
you can find. The guy with the coolest socks and everything. Like, I love it. When I see young people, there's something about, like, when I like, Wallah Mariam, it's amazing. You're 21. You know what I see when I see young people? I see hope. Like, I swear, there's something in their eyes. All young people have this thing that, you know what? I want to do something. There's that drive. And it reminds me of me. Like, when I was younger, I had drive and I had this like goal. And I'm like, I can see that. I see you. How can I help you grow? So if I can be at the university and see other people grow, that's what I want to do. Everybody around me, I just want them to all grow. Like, I love it. I think that's what we're here for, I think, you know?
Yeah.
Maybe I'm just overthinking it, but that's what I feel.
Maybe one of the reasons.
Yeah.
I'm sure you had a lot of hope in your eyes back in those days, but there were some times, there was a particular time in your life when you were young that you lost that hope. Especially when you had this sickness.
Tuberculosis. Yeah. I was 21 when I had TB. So, okay. Tuberculosis is the third world's deadliest disease or virus.
Is it painful?
So first deadliest virus is HIV. Second is malaria. Third is tuberculosis. Do you know what tuberculosis does?
No.
It's the virus. It eats through your flesh and bones. Yeah, it's crazy. So of all the places, and usually tuberculosis is common. It comes in your chest. That people who get that, and that's it. You're almost like you're dead. You cough blood and everything else comes in your lungs. But I had tuberculosis in my spine. So I was bedridden. I mean, I could not walk. I mean, I tell people it's crazy. Now I see myself like moving around. I remember I was in so much pain at the lead up to this. The problem is doctors did not know what I had. They were doing this x-ray on me and whatever. They couldn't find anything with the x-ray. I used to always complain about my back, like it started to hurt me. And then I remember I was crawling at home. Well, I was literally crawling. I could not move. It was so scary. And then, yeah, I ended up in the hospital when I couldn't. And I was in so much pain. I swear to God, it wasn't like I felt like a dagger or a knife. I felt there was a sword was going through my back, right in the middle of my back. You know, like imagine when you hit yourself against something, it's one pain. Imagine getting a sharp feeling of something going through. So apparently one of my vertebrates in my back was squeezing against my spine. That was what the pain was. And they even had me, they gave me 2 shots of like morphine. I still was crying with pain. Then they were like, okay, we can't give him any more morphine. There's something going on. It was an emergency surgery. It was like a almost 12-hour surgery. They had to remove 2 of my ribs from my left side of the rib cage and go through it. So yes, at that point, I remember when I was bedridden, imagine you're 21 and you're at the peak of your performance. Like it's one thing now when people see my energy, I was on another level of energy when I was also younger. And everything came crashing. So I was like, so for me, the reason why I am saying that I kind of like lost my confidence, I was like, all the aspirations I had, I was like, is that it? God, that's it? Like, I mean, I thought you were giving me some sort of direction. I thought like, you gave me all this like passion and everything. Suddenly, like, this is the thing. Because I remember before my surgery, the doctor said, you have a 50% chance of being totally paralyzed when we do the surgery, because you have to sign. Over 18, your parents don't have to sign. You sign it. But they made me sign. I remember my mom was sitting right there, and she was super scared, and she was crying the whole time. And I was just going through, like, there was emotionally, everything was just crazy. There were so many people in the room. My uncles was there, my parents were there, and there was other people, and so many doctors and nurses at the same time. And I remember I was just tearing because I was still in so much pain. I was like, I don't care what you have to do. If you have to kill me, do it. If you have to cut my back off, if you have to be whatever. I didn't care if I was going to be totally paralyzed. The pain was excruciating, Mariam. I won't wish this pain to an enemy. Like if someone did something really bad to me, I'd rather them just like go in any other way, but not go through that. It was that bad. So yes, that's what happened.
You mentioned in your own words, and I want to quote this.
Yeah.
It wasn't just the physical pain I felt, but the helplessness. I lost my male dignity because I was bedridden for months. I couldn't go to the restroom myself, and I had to be bathed on my bed. For a man that just kills your ambition and all the things you aspire to in life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How did you bounce
back?
I'm
telling you, I tell people, I'm like, we're so blessed. You don't think about it. Like now, you say, I want to just run up, get water, or I want to go to the restroom, and you just get up and do it. When you cannot do that, that's one. And then, my family is not there in the hospital the whole day. They have a life. You have a random person going to have to bathe you or clean you after you use the restroom on your bed. And like, it's one thing when it's a baby. Oh, you're like, oh, cute, it's a baby. But when you're an adult, I can't even tell you what that feels like. It was a very, very tough time. Honestly, it was. It wasn't nice. So that for me, like I remember, it killed me. I wasn't happy at all. But at the same time, like I always tell people, like, think about like nurses. We we talk about all these other heroes, and everybody will follow like celebrities and stuff, but these people, they don't care. Like, they're there and they will take care of you, and they don't care, and they don't even complain. And you know what's the worst thing? They probably earn like really crappy salaries too. They don't get like, you'll give a person who's the head of something or CEO of something, I don't know, whatever amount of money, but just sit there monitoring your social media account and see, oh, what is this person doing now, so I can give them a hard time. But actually, maybe you should be more bothered about these people who are at the hospital and they never complain. Or maybe they do, but they don't show it to you. They do it. They're the most selfless people ever. So for me, 12th of May is International Nurse Day. That's the day that I love to just like thank them, pray for them and everything. So yeah, you have to think, those are unsung heroes. And I'm really glad that, especially we saw even with COVID in our country, alhamdulillah, the UAE, we called them that those are the heroes, like the nurses and everything, and they all got like the golden visa, which is good. And I hope they continue to get even more. They deserve a lot more.
I think there's no other way to end this podcast with just a thank you for them.
Yes, 100%. Thank you to all the nurses and doctors and teachers. Actually, by the way, it was World Teachers Day yesterday. So I thank you to all the teachers. I'm blessed that I had some amazing
Well, thank you
people.
as a teacher as well.
Yeah, thank you. You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Omar.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry if there was anything that
no,
reminded you of the bad times.
No, it's okay. It's okay. No, it's all good. Thank you.
How did
Thank you.
like
This was
it?
awesome. Yeah, good. Oh, we're done? Damn, it sucks. Okay. No,
But
thank
did you enjoy it?
Yeah, I love it. Wallah, oh my God.